Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Travellers Season 3, Episode 2. It is called Yates. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And we have Yates at the FBI actually partnered with Mac. And
Yeah, she's his liaison.
yes. I like that he seems to know what he's walking into when he gets into that office, but at the same time, he kind of still plays it very coy. And she's like, you know what I know, right? You can stop
Yeah,
this.
maybe my biggest disappointment of the episode is that we didn't get them finding, going, okay, this is the new plan. This is
Sure,
what we're
yeah.
doing.
No, I get you. It was at the same time it was kind of exciting realizing, oh wait, we're doing this. Like, okay,
Already?
we're
Yeah,
partnered with a human.
I
All right.
did feel like I'd skipped a beat.
We're all humans. They're all humans. But you know what I mean? Like
Well,
a
the
civvy.
21st.
Yeah. So that was interesting, and then we have this other character that's introduced there, Rockwell, who's this this pundit who does TV shit. He's kind of Alex Jonesy.
Yeah.
Specifically conspiracy theories and all that bollocks, but specifically about the Travellers and the fact that there's 21st, people back in the 21st who, obviously, he's like, they've got all these motives and agendas. It's not actually, he's not saying they're saving the world. He's accusing them of causing all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
But that is just, so that is interesting of itself, and he's bringing up the senator who died last year. He's bringing up these elements that came in the show before, and it's funny because as the episode was going on, and Mac's with Yates, and she's asking all these questions, and that got to some interesting debates about the because we're with the Travellers all the time, and we're kind of rooting for them. We understand their mission. We're kind of on their side. But she's bringing up some interesting facts, because we kind of wrote off the fact that her mother was used to give a message, because, well, she was dead anyway, it didn't really matter. we were very cold about it. But she's like, no, my mother's last words went her own. I'm not particularly happy about that. And I'm like, oh, just kind of get a point, I suppose, but still, greater good.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Man up.
Deal with it. And also our disappointment that Mac brought nothing but vegetables was delightful.
I'm with her on this one.
Yes, I can relate to that. But that's something we would relate to, because we're not from the future. We are.
Screw the veggies. I want the food. Proper food.
But that was an interesting point to bring up. And then later on, after they enact their whole mission, she accuses it of being circular logic. That, this person was only going to die because of something that a traveller did, or in this case, inspired in someone, and then that person inspired this death. And that's why that inspired this death, this murder.
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong, but at the same time, it's not really in their control in the grand scheme of things. It's almost like collateral knock-on effect in a weird way.
It is, but it's rippling and getting worse as it's gone on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's getting to bigger and bigger effects and more extreme.
Because it was
results.
something we talked about back in the 17 Minutes episode, was eventually at one point one of the bad guys shot a truck driver. And then it was like, well, that truck driver's fair game now. He can be travelled into because he's been killed. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, but he only got killed because this chase was happening in the first place because Travellers are involved.
Yes.
And it is this weird murky ground, but once he's dead, he is dead. Like, they can't go back further and stop that now. So, in my head, logically, still fair game, but at the same time, it's like, knock-on effect, circular. Mm. So, but yeah. As with that, it comes down to there being, yeah, okay, sure, it's not completely squeaky clean, but it's as airtight as you're going to get in terms of logic.
It is. I expect it will be something that's raised again, though, over the season.
Yeah, because she quite rightly brings up that, they erase people, and he's like, yeah, no, but only ones who are going to die, and he describes that McLaren would have been, dying, bleeding out on a floor, and then his wife would be a widow, and, nothing good would have
came of it. How is that any better?
Yeah. Yeah. Also a good point. So, that was interesting stuff. And the whole thing with Rockwell is that through his show, he accuses this politician of being a traveller. And it's worth mentioning, we don't know if he is. I don't think we've seen him at least enough.
I don't recall, but I mean, it's been a year, so.
And there's an assassination attempt on him, but it just kills his wife. He gets out. He survives, but his wife is killed. And then there's this video, threatening this Rockwell's life, and as the ghosts attack Connor's house, and Mac and Yates are given the job of protecting him, and it feels like it's building up to something. And you're not quite sure what. And it's funny because as soon as he got the job, I kind of expected like a weird, like, you know, the end of X-Men 2, where they all come in the White House with the president, and
Yeah.
they're basically like, yeah, we're all here, and we're just here to tell you that, you know, cut this out because we're here to help. Like, I was kind of expecting that scene, and it's kind of because in the sense that they all ended up at that, you know, the TV studio. They all ended up there at the end. You know, Carly was on the desk, and, you know, Trev was following. And, you know, because it was like, you know, when Mac brought him into the room, and it was Marcy who was the
For doing
makeup
the
girl.
makeup, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, right, we're setting this up.
See where this is going.
And the whole thing is that, no, because when Carly lets in the politician who we see has a gun, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm sure they've just not phoned it in ahead. You're right, yeah, on you go. And I'm like, Carly's smarter than this. She's intending and letting him through. She's letting him through knowing that he's coming in with a gun. It's sure, because she could have stopped him right there.
Quite easily.
But at the same time, I have to imagine that had the original, the real, you know, security guard been on duty, he might have done the same thing because his wife had just been murdered because of who it is.
I think ultimately, if it had been the original person, the same thing would have happened because, you know, Mac tells us that no, he was going to kill him. He got through one way or another.
Yeah. By the way, I just gotta say how exciting it is still when that timer comes up when they finally confirm it.
Like,
Yeah, it's like, oh, the death's coming. But because I was wondering what would happen. Because he gives Rockwell the choice. Like, if you choose not to go down this path, we'll stop. It doesn't finish the sentence, but to finish the thought for us, they'll stop the assassination attempt. They'll stop it from happening. But if you're going to go through with it, then we'll just let it. We'll let you be overwritten, and therefore because you're going to die, and. I was curious if he did make the choice to go along with them, what would have happened to the countdown timer? Have we seen what happens yet if the death is intervened completely?
I don't know if we have.
Yeah, I was wondering what would happen. Would it like corrupt and freeze? Would it like what would it do?
We could find out.
We could find out. I'm curious.
Feels like something to play with, doesn't it?
So the wipe the politician's mind, so he'll be to wake up and not, you know, be in jail, and we have a traveler now in Rockwell.
Yeah, and this is where I hope the circular logic comes up. Right, okay, they stopped that politician going to jail, right? And they went, you know, they're like, okay, no, he gets to just carry on doing his stuff. What does he do?
Which, I mean, arguably, if he's going to be important in the grand scheme of things, they could essentially be fixing the fact that the travelers, you know, in a roundabout way, affected his life and caused him to become this murderer, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, so in a way they're actually putting him back on the track that he should be on. It may not be that super relevant, but one of the things that I was thinking about was that in the scenes with his wife early on when we see him with her, she says, "Hey, promise me when you win this election that you'll know when to turn it off." And it was the idea being that he does kind of prioritize his work over her, and I was wondering if, like, well, okay, it's sad that she's dead, but I wonder if, like, ultimately it won't affect his work that much because he kind of prioritized it anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. If anything, he could even be more effective in his work. Given this, I don't know, but it was just I was thinking about it, like, you know, how does it affect his work now that she's not here?
It is interesting, and I hope we find out, get a follow up on this.
I could see he's getting a little snippet here or there, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't expect to see him all the time, but yeah, I could see he's getting a little update at some point. So that was cool. So no, main plot. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, we're going along with the main plot. All these things are happening. There's obviously some side plots happening. It's like, okay, but where's it building up to? And it does that thing where it all kind of comes together, and it's like, yes, okay, I see what we're doing here.
It's something the show does a really good job of.
Yeah.
Every episode feels so not standalone, but it has its own identity as an episode.
Yeah. But obviously, lots of other little things were going on as well. Trevor's moved out of the parents' house, and
About time.
he's pretended to move into this new apartment, but he's just given up all of Gary's stuff, and he's living with thing. What's his face? Philip. There you go. Sure, I wanted to say Phil. That doesn't sound right. It's not Phil. It's not Phil. It's not Phil. It's Philip. That's what didn't sound right. But it's why I was thinking of it.
I was too busy chuckling at you just forgetting to actually answer.
Well, I'll tell you what I chuckled at.
Go on.
So Philip has this, you know, one of his weird visions, right? And he imagines like the SWAT team coming in and shooting Trevor, and he says, "Put down the gun," or "Don't shoot," or whatever the phrase was. And then it just cuts to what's actually happening, and Trevor's just sitting there going, "What about my body language told you that I might shoot you?" It was just a really funny line because he's just sitting there, like, just like, whoa.
Yes,
Okay.
and then the pills come out.
The pills came out, which I like that Trev just brought this up later in front of everyone. He's like, "Hey, Marcy, he's taking pills. Do something about it."
This shit again.
Yeah, and she's like, "Let me see them." He's like, "I don't recognize." He's like, "Well, fine, give me them." He's like, "Well, give me one so I can analyze." He's like, "Nope, not happening."
Not allowed. 2H.
Yeah.
Was it 2?
Yeah, because it was like protocol 2H. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 2A maybe. No, it was 2H.
No, it was H because the H is the historian.
Yeah. And Marcy was concerned that something happened to David, and she's trying to prod him for information. He's like, "No, I don't know anything," because he asks how he is, and he's like, "No, it's just because he was kidnapped. I wanted," which actually brings me to my other hilarious line of this episode. So Marcy gets up out of bed, right, and David's up doing some squats and push-ups, and she's saying, "Hey, you've just been through a trauma. You've been kidnapped. Blah blah blah. Maybe this is not the best time to be, working out and getting in shape." It's like, no, it's the best time to be getting in shape between kidnappings. I was like, are you expecting to be kidnapped again, David?
That killed me as well.
There. And even the next morning when she gets up and he's making this new coffee, he's bought these beans, these dark beans, and she's like, "Is this even really coffee?" She's not. He's like, "And what's your sense of adventure, Marcy?" Then he takes a sip and he's like, "Oh, that's horrible."
He tries to grin and go along with it for a second. He's like, "Nope, can't do it.
This is garbage." And where did he get those beans? He got them at a coffee shop. And who was at that coffee shop? This was very intriguing to me. Is that he was meeting up with thingy, which is Catherine, and they're friends now. They hugged and everything. They've been through a trauma together. Jeff was meant to be there, although Jeff, being typical
going
Jeff,
off the deep end,
was too busy being drunk. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Classic Jeff.
Classic Jeff. But them like having a little support group, and like, it's because we've always talked about how those three characters are the civvies, right, who are connected to a different traveler each as a team, and it's really interesting to have them kind of like mingling together now and possibly putting things together because they each have their own thing. Because Kat has another vision or another feared sort of moment where she imagines Mac's going to inject her to make her forget things, and she's not living at home.
Proper sinister as well.
It's proper sinister. She's got this fear of him right now, and David. I mean, David doesn't necessarily isn't thinking about anything yet. Like, he's not having the same concerns that obviously Jeff thinks he remembers things. Kat's having these weird moments.
Yeah, but obviously, as Mas points out, David's got the PTSD basically.
Yeah, PTSD. Also, she's giving him re-ups seemingly frequently. Because we see her do that, inject him at one point.
Just jabs him in the neck.
Yeah, and then he thinks he's pulled a muscle, but then he's like, "I've pulled all the muscles." So
yeah.
Pulled all the muscles, yes. I relate to you, David. I relate to you in many ways.
This is why we don't exercise. We're sensible.
Sensible, yes. I don't want to pull muscles.
Yeah.
It's a real danger, people.
Exactly.
Pulling muscles and cancer, these are the two biggest killers.
Yeah. Why risk it?
Yeah, exactly. We can't do anything to stop cancer, really, but we could do something to stop pulling muscles.
Yeah.
You can sit very, very still. Very still. So
extremely still.
I'm kind of jumping around all the plots here, but no, that stuff really intrigued me. The idea of them communicating and possibly something coming from it because they're now being friends and now getting to things. And obviously, it's a threat that Jeff makes later on when he comes back to see. Because at the end of the episode is him coming to see Mac and saying, "Hey, I'm friends with Kat now. I'll ask her if she remembers anything, and maybe point out some things that I remember and see if it strikes anything." And that's kind of the thing we end on. But of course, Jeff gets his kid, like sole custody of his kid, and then within a day he's caught drunk driving with the kid in the back seat, and the cop who pulls him
almost felt like a setup, didn't it?
Yeah, but the cop who pulls him over, like, I was thinking he'll probably give him leeway, and then I thought, no, maybe not with the kid in the back seat. Like, like he might have let him away with it, like had it just been him. But he's like, no, I'm taking you in for this. You're not getting out of this slightly. Like, you put your kid in danger. No, I'm not having this. So he's taken in, and he's, obviously his superior like takes his badge, and he's like, hey, get some help, Jeff. This is, don't do this. And then he doesn't seem to take any in. He just looks pissed off at the whole thing, and then he goes to see Mac at the end. So Jeff's on a collision course with himself.
I mean, it was always going to happen, wasn't it?
Do you know what I like about this? I like that, the first worry that I think we both had with the first episode was that they might be like backtracking on the end of the season, you know, in terms of the reveal. And I feel like very quickly in episode 2, not only do we have this new status quo where the FBI is working with the team, and we have a civvy who's there watching the plans play out. Like that was the best part, I think, of that whole thing when they were doing the assassination, like sort of not infiltration, but the
sting
was Yates' reaction to it, like her picking it up and then going, "Oh, hey, you want to meet my team? Here they are." And then she looked around at everyone, and it's just this random group of characters who all look like they belong in different places, and she's like, huh?
Like, pretty much, yeah.
You know, like one's just fresh out of high school.
Yeah.
You know, like it just all these things, and that was really really interesting. But the fact that we have the other characters, the fact that they're mingling with each other, and that they might get to something because they can tell something's been taken from them, that they're suspicious. And I think the really heartbreaking thing is that Marcy's done a really good job of making sure David doesn't suspect anything, which will make it sting more when the truth comes out.
When he does inevitably remember or find out again. Yeah.
Because I think what's cool about the relationship between them is that it didn't start until after she became her. You know, like he knew that Marcy, who was there before, but it wasn't like a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Mac, of course, and Catherine, like, you know, as it's pointed out by Yates, like, yeah, you're married for 10 years, but you've been here like a year.
Yeah, it's when we were just questioning the time scale last episode, and it's like, oh, about a year. Cool.
About a year, yeah. He's like, hey, that's time to form a bond. He's like, well, yeah, it is, but not 10 years of marriage level.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, but now I was digging that. I was digging that we are moving forward with, like, how they're viewing the world. And not only that, the idea of, like, the fringe media having conspiracies about travelers. And
yeah. I did feel like it got a little bit clunky on the nose at points with that side of things.
Someone said fake news.
Fake news, and just almost immediately yelling at the mainstream media was a big one at the start. And just it was just throughout. I thought it was tackled a bit clunkily. It's not awful, but you know, it was there.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't bug me too much. I guess it just made him feel a bit more realistic, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think part of the problem is, and it's not necessarily this show's fault, is that I'm seeing so many shows and movies do this in the last year or two.
They're all tackling it because they all want to like.
And I'm kind of just sick of them all because they're all doing it in the exact same way in terms of the here's the buzzwords, here's the phrases, here's the personalities.
Yeah, it's one of those things where
get it that you want to be satirical on the real people and the real movements.
Well, I think especially in this show, the whole thing is coming back to try and stop what causes our downfall, and I think you have to acknowledge that is part of the downfall. Is this type of thing?
I agree. I just think there are ways to do it that aren't quite as clunky.
There might be. It doesn't bother me because I feel like whenever I hear someone like this actually speak, I find it equally on the nose and cringeworthy. That's what they're actually like.
It's true.
Like, I can't believe actual people communicate and talk like this. It baffles me. So it doesn't come across as clunky in the episode to me. It comes across as an accurate portrayal of the clunkiness of the real thing.
That's fair. I think part of it is just that everything's doing it at the minute, and it's wearing a little thin.
But no, I'm very intrigued. Obviously, Jeff is becoming I think what's interesting about Jeff is Jeff's always been our least favorite character. There's not even been a question. Jeff's been the worst character. And I think what's interesting is that he actually is becoming a problem for the team right now. It's not just Carly anymore. It's like, no. Now he is dangerous to the team.
Gonna have to deal with him.
Gonna have to wipe him. Let's get a traveler in there.
That would really solve a lot of the problem.
It'd be actually really interesting because I think he's the one we want him to be overwritten because, he's kind of the worst.
What they need to do is just nudge him and engineer him into a situation where, well, that'd be his death. But we're not directly causing it.
Well, here's the thing. Let's say Carly did that because she's the one who hates him the most, or maybe Mac does it because he obviously has a vested interest now. Like, the morality of that and the fact that it is very shady, the fact that they know they've done that and try to manipulate.
It's interesting, though, isn't it?
It's interesting. It would definitely give them a villainous tinge, though, and like maybe make us look at that character a little bit differently. That they're trying to. Do that. So, but very intrigued by where we go with this. I'm glad to have this show back. Like
it's so consistently good.
It is so consistently good, and I like because it is a binge show and because we get it once a year and it just, we go through it in like 2 weeks. By the
Feels like a
time,
bit of an annual event, doesn't it?
by the time we get to the start of a new season again, it's like, oh man, I always forget how good it was. Like I'm like, I'm always into
Yeah,
this.
like because it's always so consistent and good at the very minimal, and then you get standout episodes.
Yeah, you get the
like
standout
17 minutes.
Very divisive episode though. Many of the comments on our YouTube video.
Well, many of the comments on our YouTube are wrong.
Very divisive.
That is my favorite episode of the show.
It's probably my favorite episode of the show so far as well. But
And there's been a lot of other good episodes, don't get me wrong, but that one was fantastic.
I've said this before, I'm sure, in previous seasons, but one of my favorite things about this show is how inventive it is in terms of using the premise that it's set up and then playing with it, and what can we do with it now that we have the rules. And 17 minutes was a good example of that. Now shaking up so that people are in on it, that the FBI is in on the fact that they're here. That's shaking up and playing with the rules in different ways. Because this is the thing, they're allowed to know they're there now, but Mac is still going under the assumption that he's not allowed to tell them anything about the future.
But
so
even though, well, maybe he can tell them some stuff, or at least, report to them. Because that seems to be the point of cooperation. Maybe we'll get, he'll get a bit of a slap on the wrists.
Yeah, is the director supposed to tell them? Like, I say tell them, I mean tell like Yates and tell the FBI. Like, is the director supposed to tell them everything they're supposed to know, and like Mac's not supposed to let anything else out? Because actually, another line that kind of made me chuckle a little bit was like, you know what? I'll tell you this much: we're here to save the effing world. I was like, yeah, leave it at that.
Yeah, that'll do.
But yeah, so I think that's interesting too. So yeah, but surprise, surprise! I'm happy Travelers is back, and we will be flying through the season, and we're past the weekend. So that is episode 2. We'll be back with episode 3 in a day or two. It'll never be more. Typically, every other day is the most you'll be waiting for each episode.
Yes, unless something goes wrong.
Unless something goes wrong, but you may get some like 2 days in a row as well, depending on our schedule. But that's episode 2. So we're back with episode 3 soon. Let us know what you think of episode 2 in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there for as little as $1 per month, and keep us going and keep the reviews coming. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?